If you want to build a personal brand, why are you not podcasting already? Let's answer that question. Today we're going to take a look at the episode that Diary of a CEO did with Daniel Priestley recently. This is the second time that Daniel Priestley has been on Diary of a CEO. If you don't know what that podcast is, definitely go and look it up. Stephen Bartlett is very well known. He is on Dragon's Den in the UK. He has built incredible companies. Daniel Priestley is also an absolute boss in his industry as well. And he has a book called Key Person of Influence, as well as other titles as well. But this particular book is a very interesting read. I decided I wanted to take a look at how this particular podcast episode that Daniel did with Stephen Bartlett is telling you that you should have a podcast. Every few minutes when I was listening to that episode, I was like, oh my God, yes. These are things I say all the time and how they relate to building a personal brand and why podcasting is such a valuable part of that conversation, such a valuable tool. That's why I want to break this down today. We're going to go into a few of the things that Daniel Priestley spoke about to try and inform you if you're kind of on the fence a little bit, or if you have a podcast already and you're like,
I don't know whether it's worth it. It's a lot of time or it's costing me money. I don't know, maybe I don't need one.
Let me just say, if you're trying to build a personal brand, podcasting should be on your radar as something to do. So let's have a little look at some of the things that Daniel and Stephen spoke about. He mentioned that people have a limited number of memory slots in their brain, which I thought was really interesting. About 1,500 total slots for people for you to remember faces and names, and then only 150 of them that you will remember well. To be successful, you need to get into people's heads, and that then requires repetition and visibility in multiple contexts. Not everyone's on LinkedIn, not everyone's on XYZ, so you have to spread yourself. You have to be remembered in multiple places. You have to be seen in multiple places. Then he went into something called the 7-11-4 rule.
What?
Research suggests that people need 7 hours of engagement, 11 interactions on 4 platforms to remember someone. So, firstly, they've got a limited number of slots, and then they need 7 hours of engagement, 11 interactions, and 4 platforms to remember you. For you to get into their 150 people that they can remember in here, you need to hit those markers. So it highlights the importance of consistent multi-platform presence for building a personal brand. And that's why podcasting is so beneficial here, because when we think about what happens with a podcast, if we do it properly, the way we like to do it here at Bamby Media for our clients, if they have the budget to do so, we like to take it further than just the audio edit. We like for them to do a video version. It doesn't need to be the full video if they're not comfortable with putting everything on YouTube and all that sort of thing, but there needs to be some form of video that's being recorded for each episode so that we can hit the audio platforms, we can hit the video platforms, we can take snippets from that and we can share those snippets, or they can share those snippets on the platforms that make sense for them. So LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook Reels are also a thing that people use. So we've shared the video in multiple places, YouTube Shorts, and then to build that sort of spread even further, to get that 11 interactions and 4 platforms thing, you also need to meet them somewhere else, which is in the written word. So again, having that podcast episode that you do a video for, that you then also have an article written for, then you can use in your newsletter. You can have a LinkedIn article. You can put that article on Medium. See what we're doing here? So really spreading it. From that one piece, we want to get as many interactions as we can. That will hit that 7-11-4 rule. And we do that for every episode. And then boom, 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 boom. There's the 7 hours of engagement, because over multiple episodes, you're going to start to hit the markers that you need to hit there. So that is a very powerful tool and something to think about. Next up, they had a little chat about parasocial relationships. So people develop this one-sided relationship with those that they frequently see in media. And in fact, I've had that even myself. I had a meeting, a consult with someone just recently, and they got on the call, like the Zoom call, and they were like, oh my God, I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity. I've watched so much of your content already on YouTube. I feel like I know you. Like, I feel like you're famous just because I've seen you on a screen. And it made me laugh, and it made me think of that parasocial relationship thing, because I'm just a person, but to you, it feels like if you watch enough of me, you go, I really feel like I know that person because I've seen that person enough times for me to feel like I know them and I like them. And as a result, I trust them. That's what we're trying to build here. That's what a podcast is doing. And it's especially interesting with this like audio and video debate. I still think that you can develop a very strong connection with someone even if they can't see you. Some people feel like they need to be able to see the person to feel like they know them, but the audio only experience is so like personal, and it's so beautiful, and you just feel like they're right there in your ears and you're not being distracted by other things. So I feel like perhaps you can feel even a stronger connection to someone if it's just audio only as well. So that's how, with these parasocial relationships, they're getting to know you, they're getting to like you, they're getting to trust you from seeing you all the time. Now, if we touch on where Daniel was talking about standing out, this is something I talk about a lot. How are you going to be different from someone else? Because the brain is very good at deleting messages, things that they feel like, I've seen that 100 times, or this business coach feels very similar to this business coach, and there's nothing that connects me to them in any other way. So they just kind of forget you. So in order to stand out, you have to be either scary, strange, sexy, provide free value, or be familiar. So while most businesses, it's not really something that everyone can be scary or strange or sexy. Everyone can provide free value if you feel like you've got nothing else going for you. Then the quality of the free value is going to be really important there. Even something as silly or as something that represents you, like for me, for example, if we think about myself, I have a fringe, or as people talk about in the US, bangs. I have bangs. This is part of my thing. This is part of my identity. This is part of the thing that people remember about me, where they, oh yeah, that's that girl with the fringe. Same with the Bamby Media logo, with the branding, there's this, this fringe, and then there's headphones on the top of them. And that's often how you see me, like this. Ready? Okay, so this is part of my visual branding. Part of what makes me unique is the fact that not a lot of people have the patience to have a fringe long term, because they are a little bit of a pain in the ass. So again, that's just a tiny thing, but it's something. And then also for me, what makes me different, I suppose, is the fact that I've got a giant Lego wall, and I talk about the fact that I love these things and I love to build Lego, and I'm over enthusiastic perhaps sometimes. I've got enough sort of things happening here for people to remember me. I mean, that's my hope. I hope you remember me, but you've got to have some things that build up to go, okay, how am I going to stand out from someone else? That's important for you to ask yourself that question, how will I stand out? They also spoke about moving from consumer to creator. And again, this is so important and so easy to do when you have a podcast, because you have to lock in your diary, in your schedule, a time where you're going to record content, where you're going to put podcasting things together. You're going to do your social snippets. You're going to, write your articles, record the video, record the audio. You have to have all those things locked in. The time that you're dedicating to creating content is time that you're by default not consuming content. And then especially if you're outsourcing, like for a lot of our clients, we do all that stuff for them. So they hit record and then we produce all this repurposed content for them. And then we also, for some of them, depending on their budget, okay, and their package, we then put all that content onto socials for them, one social channel that makes the most sense for them. They're in charge of the others. That's even less time that they have to be connected to a social media platform consuming, getting distracted while they're supposed to be updating things and putting things on YouTube Shorts, and then they're down a rabbit hole. And, so it kind of just takes that away from them. They just hit record, they batch their content, and then they've created a hell of a lot more than they've consumed. prioritizing your creation of content and not being mindlessly scrolling, not allowing that, is a really big part of creating a personal brand that actually has longevity. And then one of the last pieces that I want to touch on is the fact that Daniel went in to say that long form content is where it's at right now. That is so clear to me from the speed at which podcasting is taking over, the fact that you're getting these giant long podcast episodes that are on YouTube and also on podcast platforms as well, that they're 2 hours and they're 3 hours long, and they're potentially these big panel discussions where you got lots of people in as well, and they're asking questions and they're all these interviews and things. There's a lot more of that happening. Albeit there's a lot of male content, I'm not seeing as many females doing the same thing. I would like to see more of that. It is something that is definitely real. In this age where we've gotten so used to short videos and things being AI and these quick fixes and TikTok and all of that, people are really craving for just like longer, unscripted content where they feel like they're really getting to know people. So if someone asks you a question and it's not a scripted question, you have to respond to that as a normal person, like with your thoughts and with the knowledge that you already have. You don't have time to have the perfect answer. You just have to be who you are. People are craving that so much because they see so little of it. There's so much that's fake that things that feel real are getting a lot more attention, and podcasting can do that for you. It doesn't mean that every episode that you do needs to be a giant, 2-hour conversation. Some of that really feels like it's ego driven, and depending on the podcast as well. You don't need to do that, okay? But you do need to have stuff that's longer than a couple of minutes. 10, 15 minutes is still classified as long form. If you're not reading off a script and a teleprompter the whole time, so you feel like you're actually just having a conversation with someone, that's still long form. 15, 20 minutes of you, like I am right now. I have, a few dot points, but I'm just being me. I'm just telling you, even though you're not here with me right now, I'm telling you things that are coming straight from my brain, unscripted. And that's always a good idea. Doesn't mean you're going to be very good at it to begin with. That's okay. You're going to need time to really get good at just talking. And there's courses and things that you can do on that as well. But know that when you can get to the place where long form content isn't scary and you can sit in front of a camera like I am right now, you're on the money. You're going to go really well. Why podcasting is a good idea based on what Daniel and what Stephen have discussed in that Diary of a CEO episode. I've kind of mentioned a few things here, but the time investment would be the first one. So a podcast really simply allows you to accumulate that 7 hours that's needed for familiarity. That's hard to say. Viewers spend considerable time watching you. It's so easy to clock up the hours that you need there through a podcast. Multiple interactions, they also need that. A listener and a viewer needs that from you in order to know, like, and trust you. And so each episode is an interaction with someone there, especially if you have other content like platforms that you're sharing things on, like I mentioned before. Again, so easy to hit what you need to hit from a podcast if you repurpose it properly to build your personal brand. Further to that, the platform diversity is important. So the amount of interactions they have, depending on where they are, and then on the different platforms as well, you can hit that with the repurposing too. Podcasting is also a very easy way to provide free value. This has to be good free value. This has to be something unique in the free value. If you're going to say something that someone else has said, which everyone has done, everyone, let's be honest, there's really not a lot of new information probably. How are you providing that free value in a way that feels valuable? You think it's valuable. How does it feel valuable to someone else? And long form content is the king at the moment. Maybe it'll change, but I don't think that people will really tire of listening to people talk about things that they're passionate about, that they're engaged with, that they feel that they can resonate with, that they can relate to. That's not ever going to go out of fashion. It's always going to be important to be able to share stories and talk at length with other people. That's always going to be interesting. So long form content in the form of podcasting is a key factor as well. The other thing we'll touch on is scalability. That's something that you don't necessarily go to straight away when you think about podcasting, because it's like, how do I scale my podcast? But it's scalable on its own because it's a global platform. You can have your podcast that you've recorded in Australia, like I have right now, and then that gets spread everywhere. It's at scale. It's anywhere that it needs to get to, providing you're repurposing. You can be on YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn. You can share LinkedIn videos. You can go on Instagram. You can go on TikTok. You can go on Blue Sky, and like there's 1,000 other places. You can be on Medium. You can just share it Substack. There's so many places that make it scalable, because again, you've taken that one thing and you've gone, I'm going to put that at scale to go everywhere. And so if we bring this back to the whole point of this conversation, which is personal branding, building a personal brand, can you see now from that conversation even that Daniel had with Stephen on Diary of a CEO, how important, how integral a podcast can be for building your personal brand? There are things that you will be able to develop from a podcast that actually make your life so much easier in the building of the personal brand, because you're only needing to create the one thing. And as long as that one thing is high value enough, professional enough, or maybe it's not professional. Maybe your whole shtick is, you're supposed to be super relatable and you look like you're a bit disheveled and, you're like the common man, like all that. It doesn't have to be professional. It has to work for your niche, and it has to be with your brand identity intact. If you've got those things locked, then building your personal brand, becoming a key person of influence, like Daniel talks about. I mean, I feel like I'm doing an ad for Daniel here, but it's honestly, it's just really good information. It makes a lot of sense for podcasters to take note and do something about it. And if you're not a podcaster already, go and start one. If you need help, you can get Bamby Media to help in some capacity. We have consults, we have services, we have all these things. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to build a personal brand, you've got to build it somehow. You've got to decide what that method of build is. And for a lot of people, podcasting is a very easy, I say easy, it's less friction than other methods to actually help you build a personal brand quickly. I hope you enjoyed this conversation that we had together where you didn't respond and I just talked at you. I really love chatting about this kind of stuff, and I just want you to win. I really want you to win. I want you to build something that you want to build on your own terms, in your own time. That's very important to me, that everyone lives the life that they ultimately want to live, that you have time in your day, in your week, in your month, in your year to explore the parts of you, the creative parts of you that feel like they've been squashed. Podcasting, building a personal brand can help you get some of that to the surface and just be more of who you are. So if you've enjoyed this, like it, comment. I would love to know what personal brand thing you're going to work on. I would love to know more about you. I read every single comment and I respond to as many of them as I possibly can. I'm really enjoying building my own personal brand here, and I hope that you're along for the ride as well. Have a lovely day, and I will talk to you again soon.